Okay, my clock shows 11 o'clock, so I'm going to go ahead and call to order our meeting. Welcome to the February 26, 2024 special called meeting of the Tennessee Public Charter School Commission. Before we begin this meeting, I want to recognize our General Counsel, Ashley Thomas, to provide the statement of necessity for today.
Thank you, Chair Richards. This is Ashley Thomas. This commission meeting is being conducted pursuant to TCA 8-44-108, allowing for a governing body to allow participation by electronic means of communication where a physical quorum is not possible. As commission business requires a decision prior to the regularly scheduled March meeting, the necessity of the special call meeting is for the commission's deliberation and action on items set forth in the February 26, 2024 agenda. This meeting is being recorded and will be available after its conclusion via link on the commission website. A call-in number was provided on the commission's website for the public to participate, and a statement of necessity shall be filed with the Secretary of State pursuant to TCA 8-44-108.
Thank you, Ashley. As a reminder, all votes of the commission are conducted via taking a roll call vote. Please identify yourself prior to speaking or making a motion. I believe we are now ready to call the roll. Hayden, please take a roll call of the commissioners.
Commissioners Carter,
Present.
Griscom,
Here.
Levine, Patterson,
Here.
Eddie Smith,
Here.
Lauren Smith,
Here.
Tudor, Woodson,
Here.
Chair Richards.
Here.
Madam Chair, you have 8 members present. You have a quorum.
Thank you. On today, the only item is an Achievement School District transition application from Lead Brick Church. Does anyone have any questions or comments before we vote to approve the agenda? Seeing no one indicating, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Chair Richards, this is Eddie Smith. I'll make the motion to approve the agenda.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Hayden, please take a roll call vote.
Mr. Carter,
Aye.
Griscom,
Aye.
Levine,
Yes.
Patterson,
Yes.
Eddie Smith,
Aye.
Lauren Smith,
Aye.
Tudor,
Yes.
Woodson,
Aye.
Richards.
Aye.
Madam Chair, you have 9 ayes.
Okay, well, you know, for the record, that Commissioner Tudor has joined the call. In accordance with Commission Policy 1.200, we have reserved time for up to 30 minutes of public comment at this meeting. Each individual will have up to 2 minutes for their comments. Hayden, can you please introduce anyone who has registered for public comment?
Yes, and Chair, I'm going to be sharing a stopwatch on the screen just so everyone is aware of how much time they have remaining in their comment.
Thank you.
All right, first we have Catherine McKenzie.
Good on sound?
Yes.
Great. Good morning. I'm Catherine Rice McKenzie, the proud principal of Lead Brick Church. I have 15 years of school leadership experience, with 13 of those in turnaround schools. This is my 3rd year providing support to Brick and my 2nd year as principal. We are a zoned enrollment neighborhood school, and we welcome all students into the Brick community. Unfortunately, many of the schools in our area, including our elementary feeders, have experienced chronic underperformance. Our Brick Church students live in some of the most economically disadvantaged areas of our community and often come to us multiple grade levels behind. 50% of our students come to us reading at or below the 3rd grade level. Let me reiterate that. A full half of our students join us without the fundamental reading skills that should be learned at the elementary level, including letter sounds, blends, and basic reading fluency. Our work requires us to teach both rigorous middle school standards and fill in the missing prerequisite elementary skills. Our commitment is to catch kids up and accelerate them to and above grade level performance. This is incredibly challenging work, and it is possible. Here at BRIC now and at LEAD, we've got the right team, school leaders, teachers, and network leaders, and we've got the right focus, absolute proficiency for kids. The TPCSC review team noted this in our recommendation. We have the stability necessary now for outstanding student results. We recognize that for our students, families, and community, better than simply isn't good enough. Every year that I've been here at Lead Brick Church, our students have shown significant growth in proficiency. We doubled achievement post-pandemic year over year, and our TCAP-aligned predictive interim assessments show that we are continuing to grow proficiency at an accelerated rate. For example, this year's math interim proficiency is more than double last year's rate. This will allow us to meet the TPCSC requirements. Upon approval of a new 10-year charter, I would love to personally invite you to visit our school and see this life-changing work firsthand. I have no doubt you will leave inspired and hopeful for the future. Thank you.
All right, next we have Mary Lawrence Minnick.
Good morning. I'm Mary Lawrence Minnick, Chief Academic Officer for LEAD. I have 3 decades of experience in education in the Nashville community. And prior to joining LEAD, I served as the Director of the Office of Charter Schools for MNPS. I want to assure you that LEAD Brick Church both understands the high achievement expectations of the Tennessee Public Charter School Commission and that we have the academic program to meet the rigorous standards of your accountability framework. From the very beginning, we have embraced serving students who enter Brick Church multiple grade levels behind. 58% of our current 5th graders scored at the 20th percentile or below on our nationally normed math screening. 40% of those same students scored at the 20th percentile or below in reading. Both strong Tier 1 instruction and robust intervention are critical to addressing those needs. We appreciate the review committee's recognition of our current use of best practices in reading and math intervention. In response to the significant drop in proficiency during the pandemic, we took a hard look at our academic model and made significant enhancements to our intervention model. This shift is working, and coupled with strong leadership, has significantly changed the trajectory of students. Over the past 3 years, we've made great strides at BRIC, returning to pre-pandemic proficiency rates in ELA and nearing those in math. Current benchmark data indicates that we are on track to make even greater gains for the 23-24 school year, with projections of more than doubling our math scores. We are confident that Brick Church will no longer be designated in need of comprehensive support and improvement at the end of this year, and will be far more competitive with our geographic district. I ask that you give Brick Church students another charter term. Thank you.
And next we have Victavia Walls.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. I am Victavia Walls. I am a graduate from Lead Academy, and I went to Brick Church for middle school. It is my hope that you will overturn the decision to not accept Brick Church as a member of the Tennessee Public Charter School Commission and consider the impact that this will have on the students and families of this community. I have a unique perspective when it comes to this because I attended both Brick Church and my zoned middle school. After I made the switch, because I was at Brick Church first, I made the switch and then very quickly realized that Brick Church was where I needed to be. I wasn't being challenged, I wasn't being pushed, and I wasn't recognized as more than a student or respected like as a human in itself. I received higher expectations on my academic performance, and that in turn cultivated my love for academics and my dedication that I have today. I am a freshman at Lipscomb University, and it is my dream to become an attorney and eventually a judge in juvenile court. I sincerely believe that my academic excellence and everything that I have become today is a cultivation made by Brick Church. And I feel like it is important that students and families have that choice, like I did when it came to my own education, and that when we consider eliminating that choice for the families and students in the Whites Creek cluster, we consider the impact and the long-term effects that this will have on them. I'm an example of what is possible when students have access to good schools and challenges and support systems. There are currently 250 families who believe that Brick Church is the best option and education for their child, just like me. And that is what I would like to say. I just hope that you could consider it deeply. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Ricky Gibbs.
Are we good on sound?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen of the commission, I am Dr. Ricky Gibbs II, and I have served some of Nashville's most challenging schools over the past 18 years, and now I have the privilege of serving Lead Brick Church as head of schools. The importance of providing a quality education for every child is the #1 priority of Lead Brick Church. The choices we make regarding our educational institutions have a direct impact on the future of this community. Of the more than 50 schools in Nashville that educate middle school-aged children, Lead Brick Church has the 4th highest percentage of students who are economically disadvantaged. The question at hand is whether our Brick Church children will have a greater access to that quality education if Lead continues to operate Brick Church. The answer is absolutely yes. While performance at other local zone middle school options have stagnated, Lead Brick Church has not only improved, but is outperforming the other schools that serve similar student populations. Our success rate is almost double that of Jerry Baxter and Haynes Middle, the other 2 zone schools that we are compared to in the director's report, and our chronic absenteeism rate is 16 percentage points lower. Whether it's academic proficiency, school culture data, or simply the fact that families are choosing us, Lead Brick Church is the best option for zone middle school students in our area. The unfortunate reality is that if Lead Brick Church is not authorized under the commission, the school will go back to MNPS and most likely be closed or combined with a neighboring school that has lower academic performance. It would send our 250 students back to schools that many of our parents have already made an active choice to lead. The evidence is clear and the choice is unmistakable. Lead Brick Church is not just a school, it's the best option for students and the families in the Whites Creek community. I ask you to not take that future away from our students and vote to approve Lead Brick Church. Thank you.
Next, we have Jasmine Swafford.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
All right. My name is Jasmine. My daughter, Kinsley, she currently attends Brick Church for 5th grade. I used to go to Brick Church back in
Did we lose that speaker?
Yeah. Jasmine, are you still there? Jasmine?
I think she muted herself.
Aiden, do you want to take a couple minutes and try to get her back and we can move on to the next person in the interim?
Yes. Yes, we'll move on. We'll come back. Jasmine will come back to you at the end of the list.
Thank you.
Next we have John Little.
Okay. Good morning. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
So my name is John Little, serving as a community advocate and a person who has been a community member and volunteer for most of the middle schools in the Whites Creek and Maplewood cluster as a volunteer for extracurricular activities and a student mentor. I've had the unique experience of watching the original Brick Church in 2011 and the lead Brick Church operating in the same building and notice clear and key differences, but also working with parents who have also seen the differences over the years. And listening to a student who actually went to the middle school says it all. I know that through the budget cuts, there had to be a consolidation of both Jolton and Haynes Middle School, but as someone who saw firsthand the culture and academic issues in both schools, I would hope that a school that is just not making comparable but better academic gains than the closest zone schools continue to get a chance. I ask that you support the leadership of great turnaround principals like Ricky Gibbs to make sure that Lead Brick Church gets the opportunity to continue to serve families. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Corey Burton.
Hello, I'm Corey Burton, Director of Enrollment and Family Engagement at LEAD. I have spent more than a decade working with our Brick Church families and numerous community members. How do we know that LEAD Brick Church is the best option for families? Very simply, families are leaving the other local middle schools to enroll at Brick. Although we are currently a zone school, 55% of families are opting in from neighboring schools. The majority of our out-of-zone families are coming from two schools, Haynes and Jerry Baxter, the same two schools Brick Church is compared to in the director's report. To give you a sense of scale, we have 59 students from Jerry Baxter crossing the interstate to join us at Brick. How many families are making the opposite choice to leave Brick Church for Jerry Baxter? Only 3, 59 in, 3 out. Families are voting with their feet, choosing to opt out of the very same schools the director's report compares us against. Families, some of whom are here today, have voiced Brick Church as being a preferred alternative to experiences of bullying, low expectations, and a lack of commitment to their scholar success long term. The director's report also stated that other local charters may be a better alternative for families. In reality, these schools would only be able to accommodate a tiny fraction of the current Brick Church enrollment. Instead, families would be limited to enrolling in lower performing traditional public middle schools. Brick Church students deserve better. 250 families feel a sense of community and safety at Lead Brick Church. Because of families are choosing us, enrollment has been stable the past 3 years. To be clear, our enrollment is not declining. It has been consistent since the 21-22 school year. This is despite pre-pandemic reductions in our overall cluster's enrollment. Our solid relationships with families and community, paired with a proactive approach to student outreach, give us the confidence that we can and will meet our enrollment goals as an open enrollment school under the Tennessee Charter Commission. We are proud that our families have found in Lead Brick Church a better option, a safer option, and a better alternative for their families. I ask that you renew Brick Church for another charter term.
Next, we have Cynthia Ray.
Good morning. My name is Cynthia Ray. I'm the grandparent and parent of students that attend and attended LEAD. I'm asking and pleading to you all not to take away Lead Brick Church. The school have been a family and community school. This school have always been there for my family. My twin grandson have strived and is motivated daily as they attend LEAD. I feel as grandparents and parents, we should be able to choose the best school that we feel that fit our children. If you take away Lead Brick Church, we feel like you are taking away our rights to our children, to give them the best education that they deserve. And we feel that they are getting the total package at Lead Brick Church, academic, recreation, and personal. So give us the opportunity to pick the school that fit our families. Every school has areas that they need to grow and improve. So put a system in place to help meet the goals instead of removing and trying to delete schools. Again, we choose LEAD for their leadership, their effectiveness, their achievement, and dedication to our family. Please allow LEAD to continue to make a difference and impact in our children's lives. As a parent, I feel like if you take away Brick Church, you taking away the rights for our students to get the education that we chose to give them. Brick Church have been the foundation for the family in the community, and we feel like that we, as parents, we should make that decision for our children where we need to send our children. We should not be forced to go to a school that we are not comfortable with and not satisfied with our children's education. So again, I'm asking you as a parent and a grandparent, I have several other grandchildren that is looking forward to coming to Brick Church because they want to follow in our family education. I have been in the education system. I teach preschool, and I know when I still get education, and I continue to want my children to be at Lee Academy. So again, please give them the opportunity to continue to make a difference in our children's education as the parent choice.
Next, we have Adrienne Usted.
I believe I have to go after that. My name is Adrienne Usted, and I'm the Chief Strategy Officer for Lead Public Schools. We appreciate the Executive Director's acknowledgement that in taking on zone turnaround, that Lead is taking on some of the most challenging work. I'd like to speak to how that zone turnaround work at Brick Church differs from the open enrolled charter schools that the Commission may be more familiar with. As a network of schools with both zone schools and open enrolled schools, we at LEAD intimately understand the difference between those two very distinct types of school models. While an open enrolled charter typically starts and ends the year with roughly the same group of students, zone schools experience far more mobility as we enroll all students as soon as they move into the neighborhood. It's rare that a week goes by without a new student coming into our school. In fact, just a few hours ago, a student from Afghanistan joined our school community this morning. As a result, many students have less than a full school year with us to benefit from the academic and support services at Brick Church. Another difference is that unlike many other middle schools in the TPCSC, we do not have significant numbers of students joining us from feeder elementaries that are also high quality charters. Almost all of our students come to us from MMPS traditional elementary schools, many of which have been chronically underperforming. As our principal and others have spoken to, the academic starting point of our students at Brick is fundamentally different from students at our other open enrolled schools. Of the more than 50 middle schools in Nashville, Lead Brick Church has the fourth highest concentration of poverty, 4th out of 50. Our rate of students who are economically disadvantaged is more than 30 percentage points higher than some of the other charters the executive director's report compares us to. Should we transition to the TPCSC, we embrace the idea that our student demographics will not change. And while this means that we will face even greater academic challenges than neighboring schools with significantly lower percentages of economically disadvantaged students, we still expect our students to succeed. I urge you to renew Lead Brick Church for another charter term. Thank you.
All right, next we have Renita Perry.
Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. I am Renita Perry, Chief of Innovation for Metro Nashville Public Schools. Thank you for the opportunity to provide a statement on behalf of Metro Nashville Public Schools, Director of Schools, Dr. Adrienne Battle. Metro Nashville Public Schools respectfully request that the Charter Commission upholds Executive Director Ted Stovall's recommendation to deny the application submitted by Lead Brick Church. During the previous public hearing, I was able to present both academic and non-academic data points for Lead Brick Church over the term of the charter agreement, where Brick Church remains a priority, comprehensive, supporting intervention school. Lead Brick Church has not and continues to fail the students since 2011, as noted in the executive director's report. At the end of my presentation, I stated that if the Charter Commission denies the application, that we stand ready to support Brick Church. If the Charter Commission denies this application, we are adequately prepared to provide a high-quality education to the students in their same building and would work closely with Lead Brick Church, the ASD, and Executive Director Stovall to ensure a smooth transition for students and families. MMPS was recently highlighted in a study conducted by Harvard and Stanford researchers, noting that MMPS was one of 2 school districts out of 8,000 across the nation to excel in post-pandemic academic growth in both math and reading. By leveraging our signature initiatives such as Metro Schools Reimagine, Navigators, and Literacy Reimagine, we know we can and will do the same for Brick Church, as we have done with Cumberland and Alex Green Elementary Schools and Whites Creek High School, all exiting and remaining out of priority. We stand ready to support Brick Church as a district-run MMPS middle school, and both academics and non-academics align to our focus outcomes to ensure that every student is known. We'll work closely with parents specifically to ensure our parents understand our open enrollment process and have access to our portfolio of schools. As a school within the Office of Innovation, Brick Church will have a robust and diverse team to be a thought partner, coach, and support the principal, school leaders, and teachers. Our executive leadership team will work collaboratively with the school community to identify a proven leader in alignment with MNPS's leadership framework, and we will begin this process if the decision to deny the application is rendered. I'd like to emphasize that we stand ready to add Brick Church to our portfolio of schools as a district-run middle school. Again, we request that the executive director's recommendation to deny the application submitted by Lead Brick Church be upheld by the Charter Commission. Thank you.
All right, next we have Randy Dowell.
Hello, I'm Randy Dowell. I'm the founder and executive director of KIPP Nashville. I got a call last Wednesday from Dwayne Tucker. So I consider Dwayne's a close friend and a mentor of mine. He called me last Wednesday to say there's a chance that Lead Brick Church could be shut down. And so he asked me if there's any way we could accept their 250 students. And so I told Dwayne we've got 28 open seats across our 2 North Nashville and East Nashville middle schools. So, not many openings. We talked for a little bit, and then he called me back later on and said, "Hey, would you be willing to come to this meeting on Monday and share that information?" I said, "Absolutely." Again, Dwayne's a close friend. So sharing that for everyone's consideration, and I want to thank the commission for the opportunity and the time. That concludes my my statement.
All right, next we have Tate Danhausen.
Sound good?
Yes.
Good morning. I'm Tate Danhausen, head of schools at Lead. I served as the principal at Lead Cameron, the first zone charter school in the state of Tennessee, as well as at Lead Neely's Bend, the only Nashville-based achievement school district school to exit the priority list and be accepted into the Tennessee Public Charter School Commission. As the executive director stated in her report, the work of school turnaround is challenging, resource and time intensive, and is often a roller coaster with ups and downs. This is the most difficult work to do in education, and it is work that Lead is uniquely qualified to perform. We know that it takes a village to build the belief that we can and will be successful, and we've seen what our approach has done at Cameron, a reward school 3 times in the past 10 years, and Neely's a level 5 for growth for 7 years in a row. We have brought the same systems of leadership development and whole child learning to Brick, and the same belief that we built at Neely's and Cameron permeates the halls of Brick Church. While we understand that we haven't accomplished our goals yet, we know we are well on our way. The first year out of the pandemic, Brick's success rate remained below 5% as we look to recover our academic momentum. And our second year post-pandemic, we doubled our success rate. Now, in our 3rd year of learning recovery, our interim assessments, which are aligned to Tennessee state standards, show we are on track to double once again this year, which would put us at a 20% success rate for the current school year. Each year, we are seeing our students' performance rise further above the other zone middle school options in the community. Families are opting into Brick Church because we offer an environment that is rooted in community and achievement. With an experienced turnaround team in place in Ms. McKenzie and her staff, and a network that has developed and implemented successful turnaround models across the city, Brick will continue this upward trajectory. As stated by the executive director, Lead is an expert in school turnaround work in Tennessee. And if there is any organization that's going to take the students in this community to new heights, it's Lead. I ask that you grant that opportunity to our families and vote to approve Lead Brick Church as the next TPCSC school.
All right, next we have Rachel Ann Elrod.
Good morning. I am Rachel Ann Elrod, and I am proudly elected to serve Nashville's children and families on the MNPS Board of Education, and I additionally serve as board chair. This morning, I respectfully ask that the Charter Commission upholds Executive Director Testoval's recommendation to deny the application submitted by Lead Brick Church. As Director Stovall stated in her report, the historical data for the school does not show a, quote, trajectory of success. As you're aware, Lead Brick Church has been part of Tennessee's Achievement School District, or ASD, for 12 years. Yet even under the state's, quote, most intensive interventions, the school continues to academically underperform. All the while, the surrounding MNPS schools that have similar systematic and academic issues or concerns are having improvements. We've seen great growth inside the Whites Creek cluster in both academics, non-academics, and of course, enrollment. MNPS is ready to support Lead Brick Church families and students as they transition from the ASD back to MNPS. We are prepared to support Lead Brick Church as an MNPS district-run school and are eager to welcome these families by working with them both in academic and non-academic supports. We ask that you help us do that by upholding the recommendation and denying Lead Brick Church's application.
All right, and next we have Sharon Gentry.
Good morning. Sharon Dixon Gentry, School Board Representative for District 1, where Brick Church Middle is located. This morning, I'm before this commission to respectfully request, in concert with Metropolitan Nashville Public Schools, that Executive Director Tess Stovall's recommendation to deny the application submitted by Lead Brick Church be upheld by this Charter Commission. In her report, the director stated that we've come to the end of 12 years of the state's most intensive intervention and partnership with Lead. Brick Church has not achieved an improved academic standing. Specifically, while we're quoting, I cannot recommend approval of this application for a new 10-year charter agreement when the historical data does not show a trajectory of success. At the end of 12 years of the state's most intensive intervention, the school remains in the bottom 5% of schools in academic performance. This says it all, and no one should be satisfied with this. We don't come before you highlighting the challenges that our students show up with, but it is with those challenges we have been able to show strong growth for all of our students. The decades of experience and qualifications touted by the Lead staff and supporters has not translated into outcomes for students at Brick Church Middle. You don't get what you expect of students, but what you inspect. And our every student known approach and focus on data has allowed us to move schools out of priority status. Therefore, with anticipation and hope, MNPS is proactively positioned and ready to support the transition of Brick Church from the ASD to MNPS. We stand ready to provide support to Brick Church as a district-run MNPS middle school in both academics and non-academics aligned to our focused outcomes. Our team will work with families to ensure that the transition is smooth and seamless. We've done it before. I thank you for your time and thoughtful consideration of the best course of action, such that the next 10 years for the families and students of Brick Church Middle are not a repeat of the past 12. Thank you.
All right, and now I'd like to circle back to Jasmine Swafford.
All right, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Awesome. Good morning, first and foremost. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I do want to say, me personally, as a parent, I would be devastated if you do not approve 10 more years with Lead Brick Church. First and foremost, I have went to Brick Church over my previous years and I loved it. I did tell my daughter that I went to Brick Church. She instantly wanted to follow my footsteps. When she got to Brick Church, she excelled tremendously. Whether if it was math, social studies, reading, like I see a lot of improvement. Another thing I do love is that they can, play sports in their age group. 5th grade, I love that. Brick Church to me is a family. I do everything with them. I attend community work. Anything that I could be involved in Brick Church, I try my best to be there because that school, that feel, it gives you that feel of family. It doesn't necessarily give just a school. Like we as a whole, it's just us as a whole. You understand? Like I just don't see why you wouldn't give Brick Church 10 more years just by the success they have been improving overall. Like the staff, the teachers, everyone is great. My daughter loves that school. She loves it. I tell her all the time, one mistake and I'm gonna send you somewhere else and she don't make no mistakes because she loves everyone there. Like they love her there. I would hate, I just don't know. I would just really hate if they would not continue because I wouldn't know what to do. I wouldn't know where to send my child for the next 10 years. Like I just wouldn't know what to do. Please, at this point, I'm begging if we could please extend it for 10 more years. It would be greatly appreciated with the family, the friends. I mean, I have family members that's planning on coming to Brick Church next year for 2024 to 2025. And I would hate if they could not be there to experience what me and my daughter has experienced. So I do want to say, I want to thank you guys for this time. And my fingers are crossed. I really hope everything, it works out because this is a great school and you will not be disappointed. Just go take a tour for yourself. You will see. And thank you.
Thank you. Madam Chair, that completes the list of public speakers.
Thank you, Hayden. And I want to thank every single speaker for taking the time to sign up and work with us so that we could hear your comments this morning. It is important to hear from all sides of an issue, and we appreciate the fact that this is something that some of you had to take time off work or other things that were important to you to let us hear from you. So thank you very much. On today's agenda, we have only one item, an ASD transition application from Lead Brick Church. The school operator has been afforded the opportunity to provide a written statement or provide an oral public comment in response to the executive director's recommendation. Hayden, can you read from any written statements today or introduce any representative from Lead here today?
Yes, on behalf of Lead, we have Dwayne Tucker. You'll have 2 minutes.
Good morning. My name is Dwayne Tucker, and I'm the Chief Executive Officer at Lead Public Schools. When Lead first began its partnership with Brick Church, it was one of the lowest performing schools in the state of Tennessee. Today, Lead Brick Church offers the best zoned middle school option in the Whites Creek cluster. But we didn't get to where we are today overnight. Admittedly, it has taken executive leadership too long to get in place a strong school leadership and consistent gains in academic achievement. As my colleagues have shared, working in a zone school is vastly different from an open enrollment school environment, and our team made the mistake of treating Brick the same as our open enrolled campuses. For many years, we failed to put our experienced turnaround leaders into the principal position at Brick Church and Neely's Bend, and we did not train them with the competencies needed to rise to the leadership challenges of a zoned enrolled environment. In my past 5 years as CEO at Lead, we have rebuilt an organization intensely focused on leader and teacher development. We provide the support and development needed for our leaders to succeed in the most challenging environments. We're focused on building a depth of talent, not only at Brick, but across our organization to create sustainability and consistent succession planning. So when one of our leaders decides to leave our network, we have a fully qualified leader right behind them prepared to continue our vision. Over the past several years, we have assembled a team of proven, experienced turnaround leaders, including numerous school leaders that have transformed historically underperforming schools into reward schools. Since we began truly investing in the right leadership at Lead Brick Church, we have seen consistently improving academic outcomes. Over the past 2 years, we had double proficiency year over year. Our school's growth since the pandemic demonstrates that we're on the right path, and we're confident when data is released next fall, we will not only continue that trajectory, but emerge from CSI status. 3 years of consistent growth means that we're well on our way to meet the commission standards. While we admittedly put these pieces in place later than we should have, we have finally locked in on the right formula at Brick. We have a strong, experienced leadership team with a plan that is getting results, and we look forward to seeing our students soar over the next charter term. Our work serving the families in this community is not done. I ask that the commission approve Lead Brick Church for another charter term. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd now like to recognize Executive Director Tess Stovall to present the application. Tess, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair Richards. And I would like to start my presentation here today, grounding us in the statute that we are receiving this application under, and to contextualize the conversation around this application. So as we have discussed, we are considering here today the application from Lead Public Schools to continue to operate Brick Church Middle School under a new 10-year charter agreement with the Commission. In 2021, the General Assembly created a law that provided for multiple pathways for schools operating under the Achievement School District to exit the Achievement School District at the end of their charter term. One of those pathways is to apply to the local school district for continued authorization. And one of those pathways is to apply directly to the Commission for continued authorization. In total, the Commission has heard and deliberated on 8 applications since this law has passed for 8 separate schools. 6 of those schools have applied directly to the Commission, like Brick Church has. The Commission's decision here today is whether or not the Charter Management Organization of Lead Public Schools should be granted a new 10-year charter term under the Commission, or if we deny that application, the school would then move back to the local district, Metro Nashville Public Schools. The decision today is not whether Brick Church itself should close and cease operating. As heard through our process as well as in public comments today, the school would remain a school within the Whites Creek cluster operated by Metro Nashville Public Schools if Lead Public Schools application is denied. For context, this is a similar discussion than as the one we had in October regarding Fairleigh High School. So Fairleigh High School was operated by a charter management organization within the Achievement School District. The Commission denied the application of that charter management organization, and that school is moving back to Memphis-Shelby County Schools under the operation of Memphis-Shelby County Schools. So my presentation will cover 2 parts. So first, I'm going to talk about the process by which Brick Church qualified to apply to the Commission. And then second, I'm going to discuss some of the evidence that I found in the review to support my recommendation. So the pathway that Brick Church qualified to apply for the Commission is unique. And it is complicated, and it separates itself out from the 5 other schools that we have considered. So I feel like it's important for us to take some time and walk through these, why this is a unique situation. So beginning in 2011, 2012, the Tennessee Department of Education assigned Brick Church Middle School to the Achievement School District because the school was in the bottom 5% of schools in the state. Lead Public Schools was selected as the charter operator to oversee the school turnaround effort at Brick Church, and Lead began its work at Brick Church in school year 2012-2013. In 2021, when Lead was in its 10th year of its charter agreement with the ASD, Lead Public Schools was given an additional 2 years to operate the school by utilizing the parent trigger section of statute. Therefore, the ASD and its charter agreement with Lead was extended to school year 23-24. So from 10 years to 12 years. Lead's charter agreement ends this school year in June 30 of 2024. This school is unique compared to the ones we've previously considered from the Achievement School District because its charter agreement ends this school year. When evaluating the other applications that were applied directly to the Commission, those schools had at least 1 year, or in some cases more, 2 or 3 years remaining on their charter agreement. The decision of the Commission was whether or not we would allow the school to complete the remaining years of their charter agreement under the Commission. However, in the case of Brick Church, since their charter agreement expires with the ASD as of June 30 of this school year, the decision of the Commission would be to grant a new 10-year charter term to Lead under the Commission. And as a reminder, charter authorizers in Tennessee cannot approve an application based on conditions, nor can we approve anything shorter than a 10-year charter term. In order to apply directly to the Charter Commission, a school has to achieve priority exit status based on the state's accountability system. In the previous 5 schools evaluated by the Commission via the direct pathway, the schools were required to meet a more rigorous exit criteria established by the Department of Education. However, in school year 22-23, the Tennessee Department of Education developed a 1-year exit criteria. The criteria was, did a school have a higher success rate than the school did in school year 21-22? The Department of Education did not evaluate how a school's overall success rate compared to other schools in the state, nor did it evaluate how a school's performance landed on the overall percentile of schools. 11 of 14 schools operating within the ASD in school year 22-23 met the Department of Education's 1-year exit criteria, including Brick Church. And it is because that Brick Church met this exit criteria that it was deemed eligible to apply to the Commission under statute. It is also important to note that the Department of Education ran a new list based on school year 22-23 data, which re-identified schools in the bottom 5% of academic achievement in the state. This is a federal designation called the Comprehensive Support and Intervention List, which has previously been equivalent to the Priority School List. The Department of Education has said that it will continue to be the equivalent of the Priority School List when the department resumes identifying priority schools in 24-25. When the Department of Education ran the data to identify schools within the bottom 5% of schools in the state, 12 schools operating within the Achievement School District, and including Brick Church, were identified in the bottom 5%. Those remaining schools within the ASD have either applied back to their local district for continued operations, have or will be returning to their resident district, or continue to remain within the Achievement School District. I do think it is important to note that moving forward, the Department of Education's exit criteria will return to the more rigorous criterion beginning in school year 23-24 data and beyond. So because Lee Brick Church met the 1-year exit criteria and was deemed eligible to apply, the school submitted an application to the Commission in accordance with statute and Commission rule. When the application was received, the Commission assembled a review committee made up of Commission staff and external reviewers. We reviewed the application and we held a capacity interview with the school leadership. We also conducted a site visit. In addition to this work, we held a public hearing with Brick Church, and representatives from Metro Nashville Public Schools participated as well, and we received public comment. And it is based on the entirety of this information collected through this process, as well as an evaluation of Brick Church's academic data over the past 12 years, that I formed my recommendation here today. I would like to summarize the evidence that I used in my recommendation for consideration by the Commission. The Commission's review committee found that Lead Brick Church failed to meet the academic standard for approval because there was little correlation between the school's academic model and positive trajectory of student academic results over the past 12 years that the school has been in operation, and the school remains in the bottom 5% of schools in the state in terms of academic performance. When looking at academic performance over time, I found that essentially from school year 2012-2013 to school year 23-24, there is little statistical difference in the academic outcomes after the school received the state's most intensive school turnaround intervention. Over the life of the charter term, the school has seen significant staff and school leader turnover. There have been numerous changes in strategy to improve academic achievement, but to this point, there is little little academic progress or sustainability to point to. I appreciate the comments of the school principal and other network leaders, but I also acknowledge that the school leader is relatively new in her position in her second year. Again, this harkens back to the numerous changes in school leadership that the school has faced. And as a result, this has impacted teacher retention at the school as well. I note in my recommendation, and I do appreciate the work that Lead Public Schools has done in the school turnaround space, but I cannot disregard the lack of academic progress that I have seen at Brick Church when I reviewed the last 12 years of academic data. When I evaluated Brick Church's most recent academic and non-academic data in comparison to other schools in the area, Brick Church performed on par with zone middle schools. There are indicators where Brick Church slightly outperforms the zone middle schools in the area, while there are areas that those other zone schools outperform Brick Church. I included a comprehensive summary of the available data for schools surrounding Brick Church within my recommendation. Most importantly, when I evaluated Brick Church's data against the Commission's current school performance framework, the school would not meet academic standard. This is particularly noteworthy because in 2022, the Commission worked extensively to update its academic framework to accommodate and contextualize it for schools that have exited the ASD and joined the Commission. All former Achievement School District schools that operated within the Commission's portfolio in school year 22-23 met our academic standards as defined by our academic performance framework. Additionally, when I reviewed where Brick Church's success rate, so overall proficiency rate, fell in comparison to the Commission's other schools in school year 22-23, I found that Brick Church's combined success rate of 10.3% is lower than all of the Commission's current schools, with the exception of one. That is Bluff City High School, which is in its second year of probation by the Commission because of low academic performance. Lastly, in my recommendation, I considered enrollment at the school. Over the last few years, enrollment has declined, and there are approximately 230 students in the building. I know today we heard about 250. It has fluctuated around that 230, 250 mark for the last several years. The geographic region in which the school is located has seen overall enrollment declines. And as was noted earlier, the resident school district has consolidated and closed zone schools because of the shrinking of enrollment. Charter schools are not immune to enrollment challenges and the impacts of declining enrollment. And I want to particularly note that in the case of a school that transitions from the ASD to the Commission, they will move from a zoned school to an open enrollment school. We have seen, based on historical transitions, all of our ASD transition schools are impacted by a decline in enrollment because of the shift from zoned to being an open enrollment traditional charter school that you are responsible for recruiting and retaining students. This is a concern for the overall financial and operational sustainability for Brick Church in the long term. While I appreciate the work that Lead Public Schools has done in the turnaround space, and my recommendation today is not related to what I believe they could do in terms of future work with future schools, it is ultimately my recommendation that the Commission deny Lead's application to continue to operate Brick Church for a new 10-year charter term. Thus far, there is very little academic data that I can point to see that the school will be successful under the Commission's performance framework. Ultimately, it is the Commission's charge in law to be a high-quality authorizer and to hold schools accountable to their academic performance. If the Commission chooses to approve Lead's application, the Commission staff will need to immediately put it under a corrective action plan, similar to the one that Bluff City is currently under. And lastly, I acknowledge the support that the parents and community members have demonstrated through this process, even on the call today. But ultimately, my recommendation cannot be based on this factor alone. My recommendation comes down to what bar do we expect charter schools under the commission to meet, and whether Brick Church, as operated by LEAD, has met this bar. My recommendation is based on the high but achievable bar the commission has set for schools within its portfolio. And as I conclude my presentation, I want to reiterate my appreciation both for LEAD Public Schools and Metro Nashville Public Schools through this process. And I am reiterating the commitment that the commission is giving to parents as a part of this process, regardless of the commission's decision here today. And with that, I will turn it back over to Chair Richards to facilitate the conversation.
Thank you, Tess, for your presentation. We appreciate the efforts of you and the review committee and the staff who were involved in getting to that recommendation. I'm going to open this up to questions and comments from the commissioners. Are there questions or comments for Tess concerning her presentation, or any comments with regard to this application that people want to make? If you'll just raise your hand, I'll sort of call on you by, okay, Tom Griscom, Commissioner Griscom.
Thank you, Commissioner Richard. This is Tom Griscom. Tess, just for a couple clarifications, make sure we heard it right, because there's been a lot of discussion, but we heard from Metro again today. It was in the public hearing, their intention not to close this school, but to leave it as an option. Is that your understanding as well?
Yes, that is correct. Metro Nashville plans to keep it in operation as a zoned middle school in the Whites Creek cluster. They have identified staffing for the school, and so no student would have to go to any other zoned option should they want to remain at Brick Church.
Okay, I got a second question. I found it interesting in the report that you put together that's backing your recommendation not to approve this. That if we were using, and I think you mentioned this a minute ago, if we were using our standards, and most of us were there and know the rigorous work that was done to set those performance standards, that our standards, even though if you use the ones typically where it shows meets or doesn't meet, or or some other kind of work, but when we look at our own standards, particularly on the academic side, it did not meet the standard. Is that correct?
That is correct. So when we evaluated it against our academic performance framework, which includes letter grade, TBOS, as well as comparative measures with the resident district, Brick Church would not be meeting the academic standard.
I got one last question, Chris. So it really is, it's a difficult decision, but we've faced this before as commissioners. And so this, again, is not the first time we've been in this kind of an environment or this kind of decision to make. But we've talked from time to time about having that latitude. I wish we could do something for a year or two, come back and review it. And we're not able to do that. You mentioned that. And I would just leave it out here, and this may be something, Hayden, for you to think about, maybe going forward in the next legislative session or so, that we ought to possibly revisit the ability for us as a commission to have the, to be able to look at a application like this, and rather than extending it for 10 years, that maybe we could do it for 1 or 2, and then come back and look at it again, and then have a different decision. But we can't do that right now. So I think there maybe is a lesson coming out of this. It's not the first time we've seen it. We've talked about some other schools that we have considered about could we put options in. The answer was no. So I just wanted to make that point because it may be something worth thinking about going forward with the legislature. Thank you. That's it.
Okay, I've seen Commissioner Woodson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is Jamie Woodson, and I have a couple of questions, similar line as Tom, related to just clarifying what our materials you shared in the materials and what you've said today. Can you unpack again for me the changes in the exit criteria from TDOE previously, what they are currently, and what looks like a very finite window of time, and then the brief nature that exists? And then it feels like there's a timing. This is very timing that will not occur again with similar facts. This kind of portfolio or information from Brick Church, this isn't something that, unless they change the criteria again, that we would even be coming before this commission. Is that accurate? And can you just unpack that for me, please?
Yes, thank you. So because there have been some changes and adjustments in the state's accountability system, and also changes and adjustments that the Department of Education has made in consultation with the U.S. Department of Education in terms of our exit criteria, et cetera. For one school year only, the Department of Education created a one-year exit criteria, which did a school achieve at a higher proficiency rate in school year 22-23 than it did in school year 21-22. So any school that went from 6% proficiency, say, to 7% proficiency would have met that one-year exit criteria. Previously, the exit criteria was far more rigorous, and there are several options, and I won't go into the depth of them, but it included a school performing above the 10th percentile across all schools in the state 2 consecutive years in a row, a school performing at the 15th percentile in 1 year, meeting TBOS 4 or 5 2 years in a row across all subject matter. So the exit criteria was meant to be a much more rigorous bar, because it really demonstrated, yes, a school has met significant academic improvement, such that it has not only moved out of the bottom 5%, but is really demonstrating a tremendous amount of academic growth to meet those higher targets. So for this school year only, the Department of Education utilized the one-year exit criteria, which is why we saw a number of the majority of schools operating within the Achievement School District last year meeting that one-year exit criteria, because they scored better than they did last year on proficiency rates. Moving forward, the Department of Education plans to return to the more rigorous exit criterion that I described earlier for any schools that they evaluate based on 23-24 data and moving forward. So this 1 year is really, I wouldn't even call it a gap, but it's one piece, which is why you saw both schools exit the criteria and then immediately be re-identified based using the same exact data, because they're really measuring two different things.
Thank you, Tess. And that's very helpful. I'm going to shift gears a little bit to sort of the timing in MMPS and for charters for students and families. Can you unpack the calendar for families? Well, first, this is a special called meeting instead of during our normal cadence. I assume that is to help meet a window so that families will have some planning runway for choices that MMPS, LEAD, whomever would make sure circle around the family so they have access to maximum information on alternatives, whether to stay in the school or to choose another option that's available to them. So I'm trying to explore a little bit, like what options do families have in this window? And I want to confirm that this isn't past a window where all of those deadlines have concluded.
Thank you. So I do think it's important to note that typically our process on ASD applications runs such that we are making a decision at our January meeting, because number one, we want to make sure everyone involved has the commission's decision as soon as possible, and that parents are able to use the spring to make choices should they want to. The reason that we are sitting at this meeting at February 26th is because of the delay in release of accountability data in the fall because of the changes that were happening in the accountability structure meant that we as the commission and schools were not told whether or not they met the exit criteria until I think it was November the 20th. And then schools then had the opportunity to apply to the commission. So we did not receive the application from Big Church College Prep until December the 12th. So that then resulted in us having to push our timelines beyond the January meeting and to hold a special called meeting here today. One reason that we didn't wait until March to make this decision in an in-person meeting is because we did want to make the decision as soon as possible so that parents could exercise and had opportunities to exercise a choice should they want to within their process. Metro Nashville, in numerous conversations that I have had with them, have said that they will work individually with families on a case-by-case basis to both determine if there are optional schools within MNPS that are district run that a student would want to transfer to, or if there are opportunities for charter school enrollment if they choose to do that as well. You know, based on what we know about our schools, we are in the enrollment timeline right now. There are schools that have run a lottery at this point. There are schools that still have open enrollment seats. And I think the benefit that people within the Davidson County community have is there is a significant amount of choice within the Davidson County community. There are 25 plus charter schools, numerous optional schools within Metro Nashville Public Schools. And I am confident in Metro Nashville and their staff in working individually with families to determine what is the best option for their student, if that is to remain at Brick Church or is that to exercise other options. I don't have specific timeline information for all of those options in front of me because we don't run that system. But I do know that this is the timeline, this is the period of time when optional schools are available and that Metro Nashville has committed to supporting families in exploring those options through this process.
Thank you, and I'll yield to my colleagues.
Commissioner Levine.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and Tess, thank you for the hard work and frankly for making sure we differentiate between the performance of this particular school and the performance of LEAD generally. A couple of questions I have. One, I just want to make sure I'm confirming that the option here is if we approve your recommendation, then the conversion back to Metro Nashville will happen. If we don't approve your recommendation, then we're giving them a 10-year runway. There's no in between, is what I heard. There's no, as Commissioner Grissom was saying, there's no short-term trial run. And I want to tell you why I'm asking that question. What I've also heard today is that the current year performance, which isn't, I guess, official, but it's what they're telling us, that their current year performance has gotten back into a good trajectory. I say good, meaning I heard somebody say their math proficiency this year is double what it was last year. I don't know what that means because I don't have it formally in front of me, but have we seen something change this year that gives indication that the school might be on a good trajectory? And that gets back to why I asked the question about, is there a shorter term solution maybe? But I think I heard that there isn't. I just wanted to confirm that.
Thank you. So you're correct. There is no short-term solution. The charter terms in Tennessee and what we're discussing here today is a new 10-year charter agreement that we would then bring into the portfolio. Obviously, we do have our intervention policy and other levers, but it would be for 10 years, regardless of how we feel about the data or not. We did discuss their interim data. So that's all we have right now is their interim data for this school year as a part of both the application and also the site visit. One thing to note is that they did share that they changed their interim assessment from last year to this year. So it's very difficult for us to do year over year comparison because it's a different assessment. They were showing progress between the first assessment of the year and the second assessment of the year, that, you know, if that trend prevails, that they would see an increase in proficiency. It's just very hard for us to determine whether or not that will be then translated onto TCAP, because it is a first year that they're using this new assessment data, and we have yet to see how the interim data then translates into TCAP. I also want to note that the designation as a comprehensive support school is a 2-year designation. So schools that were identified this past year, which Brick Church was, will remain on that list for 2 years. Now, certainly there is the exit criteria that we've talked about, but I don't want to give anyone the impression that it's a 1-year list, as well as we are anticipating the Department of Education to rerun the priority school list or identify priority schools beginning this fall. And we have been told that the priority school list and the comprehensive support list will align as they have in the past.
Okay, and thank you. And the follow-up to that, and this is more a comment than a question. I appreciate the commitment made by Metro Nashville Public Schools to keep this school open. My concern, just for the record, is if there's been declining enrollment, and there's going to be continued pressure on enrollment, it's a pretty big commitment to make, to say you're going to keep a school facing continued declining enrollment, because I don't think MNPS is immune from that, and so I think it's probably important. Obviously, they have their plans and their strategy, and I certainly don't speak for them, but I appreciate them making the commitment, particularly for the students that are currently there, that may not have enough capacity in some of the other charters to be able to serve all 230 of them in those other slots. But I think the comment that was made that was pretty powerful to me by a parent was, we're sending kids back to a school that the parents have already opted to remove their kids from, which isn't exactly true, because the school is going to remain open. But it is a concern to me that the publicly operated schools by MNPS in that same cluster are really not performing much better. And in some metrics, Brick Church actually is performing better than the local public schools. And so I think that it's a lot to weigh, but I think, just speaking for myself, if I'm going to vote against the recommendation of our extremely qualified executive director, it's a pretty tall bar. And so far, I haven't seen enough to wrap my arms around to overturn the recommendation of our staff. So.
Okay, are there other comments? I'm going to call people by name because I don't have everyone's picture, so somebody may be frantically waving at me and I can't see them. Commissioner Patterson.
Good morning, good afternoon to everyone. I just wanted to make a couple of very brief remarks. First, hats off to the staff and to Tess and her evaluation of this very challenging decision. I think anytime when we're faced with either a non-renewal, a closure, or anything that could disrupt the day-to-day for students and families is an extraordinarily difficult decision. But at the same time, I think our public education systems have failed parents and families by failing to act, or by waiting, by hoping for more time. And I think, Alan, you may have made this reference. This is certainly not a statement on LEAD as an organization, because sometimes even the best of organizations miss or can't get it completely right. And so I don't view this as, if we uphold this recommendation, these students are faced with options that are underperforming at the traditional district, because there are higher performing options nearby. And it's my hope that as best we can as an organization, Tess, we can work with those families to ensure that if there aren't seats available at some of the higher performing schools, such as KIPP Academy Middle and KIPP Nashville and even Liberty Collegiate, that there may be alternatives. And in the case where there is a distant alternative, perhaps the district can work with these families to provide transportation. But certainly, we need to make sure that we are being the best partners that we can be to ensure that these students don't just get the same level of academic experience, but they deserve a better quality experience than what they've been getting. And so I'll be in support of this recommendation, but I wanted to just acknowledge the difficulty and the challenges of making these types of tough decisions and recommendations, but also knowing and appreciating that. And I hope that we will be good partners and we will be good community leaders to help these parents and families and students get to a higher performing option in partnership with NMPS and also neighboring charters in this cluster, but also even in nearby clusters, because certainly we do have higher performing options above and beyond just the ones in the immediate vicinity. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair, this is Commissioner Carter. Can you hear me?
Yes, you're recognized, Commissioner.
Good. Well, thank you. I'm truly, unfortunately, I'm in and out of, I'm unfortunately with the other people that I just said I had to exit because of some critical business issues that I'm dealing with. But I have been on the call since the beginning, and I will look at saying to my fellow commissioners, as someone who in fact has been an operator of a charter school and knowing the challenges and the difficulties that you have in dealing with a concentration of population base that's concentrated with people that are really in the lower ranks of again, poverty levels. The job that, in fact, again, these operators have in trying to make a difference, because I've been there and I've seen the challenges, it is just not easy. I mean, and you could almost say that about most charter schools throughout the country, because they're mostly operated in communities of people of color, both brown and black. But, to have been there, in the case of my scenario, I've been involved in a charter school in Detroit, and the caliber of students that we receive who come to us, just like Brick Church, reading 2 and 3 grades behind where they should be, and 4 grades behind where they should be in math by the time they reach us in the 9th grade. It is more than a notion to think you can move things. And what's past is past. And I know that, in fact, that they've been involved in, when I say they, lead in working with the school for 12 years, or since at least 2012. I look at, and you've heard me talk about this issue of leadership. To me is everything. And when I look at, again, the leadership that the operator has with people like Dwayne Tucker as a CEO, and the gentleman that he just brought in, who I met just once, but Ricky Gibbs, who was, if I recall, principal, Nashville Public School Principal of the Year, I think in 1920 or 2020. And he had his elementary school that he, in fact, again, was the principal of for a number of years. I think it was Warner Arts Magna. And they were named the Tennessee Reward School. And he just came on board, I think, recently. What I contend is it's just like the analogy of a major league football team. You bring in a head coach because you bring in a head coach who, in fact, has a successful track record, proven commodity, and he can take a 1-15 team and make them a competitive team in maybe a year or two. And when you look at the last 3 years, I think, of what Brick Church has achieved, as much as they might not be meeting the standards in terms of, again, what we've established, they've made significant progress. So I bet on leadership. I bet on the fact that, again, they've outperformed, the 2 middle schools that are in that cluster, in that White Creek cluster. That's what I think I heard from Haynes, and I think it's Jared Baxter. That says something to me about in terms of what's taken place recently. Maybe not 5, 6 years ago, but recently, and that they expressed the fact that just this past year, things have gotten better academically. That speaks to leadership. And then when you listen to the voice of the customer. So when I heard the parent, Mrs. Stafford, talk about what it means in terms of having her 5th grader there and how she in fact hopes that we keep that school operating, by again, the Lead Academy folks, that means a lot to me. More so in some ways than, what others might say, because that's the voice of the customer. When you listen to the voice of the customer, the people that are in those schools who are committing to wanting to make a difference, they are putting their name, they're putting their necks out in some ways, saying, give us another opportunity. We can make a difference. And I live that every day with my school back in Detroit, because we've had a lot of starts and stops. And it's because we continue to believe in the leadership where at the end of the day, and it's not an overnight success. It takes 3 or 4 years, just like it does a business, to look at turning things around. So I'm a contrarian here, but I've lived what they're going through. And it's really a challenge. These people need another opportunity. And it's unfortunate that, again, it's, 10 years or bust. I wish that, in fact, again, that wasn't the case. But at the end of the day, we got to make a darn decision, and we've got to vote. And I'm going to vote to say we need to look at allowing this school to remain with Lead. I believe in Dwayne. Ricky Gibbs, I think, is just a exceptional leader who now is going to be heading that middle school, the middle school area for Lead Academy. Give them a chance. And so I just hope that, again, what I'm sharing resonates with the rest of my commissioners. I don't think it probably will, but I'm a contrarian here, and I'm going to differ in terms of, again, the decision we make. As much as I respect Tess and staff in terms of, again, their recommendation. Thanks.
Thank you. I'm going to call on the remaining commissioners in alphabetical order. Lauren Smith, Commissioner Lauren Smith.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think all of my questions have been asked by my colleagues. I would agree with everyone that this is an extremely challenging decision. I've honestly gone back and forth on it quite a bit over the past couple of weeks. Just want to say how much I respect the team at Lead, have known them, I've worked with them for a long time. Dr. Gibbs, have seen the work he's done next door at Warner. We live in the neighborhood of Warner, and know what a strong leader he is. But at the same time, I'm having a hard time looking at 12 years of data, and having a really hard time authorizing another 10-year charter term. And I believe that Tess and her team have done an incredible job, very thoughtful process here. So I will be agreeing with her recommendation. Thank you.
Commissioner Eddie Smith.
Thank you, Chair Richards. And, I will agree that Tess and her team did an outstanding job with an impossible situation. What I'll sit here and think about is, how did we get here? And it was, no fault of any of the current elected officials at MNPS, or even really some of the leadership. This all predates a lot of them. But NPS allowed a school in their portfolio to fall into the bottom 5% that required the state to come in and take it over. Then we have a charter operator who showed that they were making success. COVID hit, everyone went down. But then I look at the data that, the school is still outperforming the other middle schools in that same cluster, knowing that what is being fed into them is still below standards. So it's honestly, it's a no-win situation, whichever way we go, because we're either saying the students that lead, they're going to continue and make mediocre progress, or they're going to go back to MNPS and make even less mediocre progress, just looking at the data from the other schools. So at the end of the day, this comes down to what is in the best interest of the students in my mind. And looking at the fact that the schools in NPS are vastly underperforming where they were, they've not made the progress. While yes, it is great that MNPS overall has seen tremendous growth across the district, in this cluster, we're not seeing that, which has me concerned about putting a school back into that system where there may not be the necessary supports that they need, may be working towards it. So are they going to get better success through a charter operator, or are they going to get better success through a system? And when I look at the schools around it, the data, again, anybody can take any piece of data and make any story they want to out of it, but the data tells me the students would not be best served in MNPS. On the other hand, I agree with, Commissioner Levine. I wish we had an interim step in this process. 10 years seems too much. 5 years for me would make more sense. We don't have that option. So we're kind of handed an impossible situation of what to do for, really, if you think about middle school, the next 3 generations coming through, an entire cycle, 3 different cycles of students coming through this school over the next 10 years, and what is in the best interest of them. So with that in mind, and while I greatly respect Tess, and I believe that there are a lot of, everything in her report is accurate, when I weigh it against the other option, I believe it's in the best interest of students that we at least allow Lead Brick Church the opportunity to continue the improvement that is outpacing the other middle schools in that cluster. While it might not be what we want, that's where I think as a smaller entity, we can really put some plans and things in place to help Lead Brick Church move forward faster than, because when you look at like our KIPP schools and Liberty Collegiate Academy, exceptionally higher success rates in both ELA and math than the district schools. Are there some things that we can do as a smaller entity? And again, I keep in mind that during some of this same time, the ASD in the state was having tremendous leadership challenges. That wasn't something that I noticed in Tess's recommendation. There was no consistent superintendent. No one was consistently focused on that turnaround from the state level supporting these schools. So they were left on their own. So I take all of that into this big approach of really where I'm landing, which is I believe the students would be best served through Lead Brick Church than returning to the district. But I also want to commend MNPS and what they are doing around the district as a whole. And I hope that we start seeing some of that translate into this cluster for these students of what they're actually getting done in the rest of the community. So that's where I am. That's where I'm boiling it down at the end of the day of reading through and just thinking through all of this. Again, highly, highly respect Tess and her recommendation. I just don't believe it's in the best interest of students when compared to what they could be going into. And that's where I'm going to end up falling at the end of this conversation. So I appreciate the time, appreciate everybody listening. And Tess, again, for you and your team, thank you for doing the absolute hardest work of having to parse through all of this to give a recommendation for us to be able to get to a place to make a decision. So just want to say thank you to you and the staff for everything that they do for the Charter School Commission.
Thank you. Commissioner Tudor, do you have any questions or comments?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a brief comment and then a question. I appreciate all of the thoughtful comments from my fellow commissioners. Appreciate all the hard work from the staff and the contributions from everyone who shared their thoughts today in public comment. It's a very difficult decision. My question is directed at Tess or Ashley. You guys know that I obsess about the test or the metric or the standard that we are obliged to follow pursuant to state law. And so my question is that the same as it is on appeals? And again, my limited, I guess, sort of the stripped down understanding of that is it's a 2-element test. The first is, do they meet or exceed in these 3 areas under the rubric? And is it in the best interest of the students, the LEA? Are we looking at the same exact test here for this, or is it different pursuant to the statute?
This is Ashley Thomas. Thank you for that question, Commissioner Tudor. I will say the standard that you are setting forth, as you stated, is in the appeals statute, in the appellate statute. This particular application falls under a different statute altogether. There is not that 2-step test there. So the commission can take a more holistic review of this application. So it's more than just the record and best interest, but you can look at all of those things combined. We sort of parsed it out more in the commission rule, but we did not set forth a standard like the appellate statutes do.
Thank you. Exactly what I needed.
Commissioner Tudor, do you have any other comments or questions?
No further comments or questions. That was very clarifying. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm just going to add a couple quick comments because this is the best way I can describe this is a sad, sad situation. You look at what has been done over 12 years by LEAD, and then you look at what's been done over an equally long 12-year period by the other zone schools, and performance numbers below 5% are just unacceptable across the board. So this is a very, very difficult situation because I don't see improvement in either of the zoned options. And I am struggling with the lack of improvement in the past 12 years by LEAD. That being said, we have an obligation to meet our standards and our tests, and we know on day one if we overturn our director's recommendation that this school is not going to meet our standards, and we're very much taking them at we're going to fix this and it'll be better by the time you start being our authorizer next year. And that is a troubling situation to be in. And I'm also troubled by the fact that if the prior criteria for priority exit were in place, this school would not even be able to file an application with us. So it is a difficult situation. I have huge respect for the leadership of the school and the things they've done at their other schools. And of course, have huge respect for the work of our staff and everything they've done. And so with that, I'm going to leave my comments. Are there any questions or comments before I call this matter for a vote?
Madam Chair?
Yes. Commissioner Levine?
Forgive me, after listening to everybody, my opinion hasn't changed, but I did want to add something to the record. I hope the folks that from the Metro Nashville public school system that are watching this or who will review this later will recognize if the vote here is to approve the recommendation of our executive director, I hope they'll recognize that, at least speaking for myself, if I vote in that manner, part of my vote, what I heard from the school system, that they're going to lean into these families and that they're going to lean into this school, because what Commissioner Smith has said and others have said, but I think Eddie said it very, very well, at the end of the day, the performance of the entire cluster has not been good. So nobody can declare victory here. This is a long-term failure of both the public school system as well as the public charter school model specific to this school. I do believe that what we heard from Commissioner Carter is true, that you're investing in a current team, and the team that's there now does seem to be doing some really positive things. So I just hope that the folks from the public school system are listening and understand that we're counting on them if your recommendation goes forward, Tess, that we're counting on them to lean into this cluster for the sake of these students.
Are there any other questions or comments? Commissioner Woodson.
Madam Chair, thank you. And I've asked clarifying questions before, but my colleagues have been so thoughtful. I just wanted to express my appreciation to the adults in this conversation, the leadership of LEAD, the members of this commission, our leadership and staff, and MMPS. This is a very, very difficult and challenging process, and I very much appreciate the family and student-centered approach that everyone is taking. It's really challenging. I also, so many of my colleagues have said such rich things. Commissioner Patterson's comments really struck me about what the system, and we are pieces of the system, should provide for students, and what it's clearly not providing for students right now. And as I think about the gnashing of teeth that we have done as a relatively young organization about living our charge statutorily that the General Assembly gave us, they very much were clear that we are not just an authorizer, but that we are an authorizer of quality charters. And that is hard to live. And it is easy to put things on paper. It's easy to set a bar. Living the talk, living the policy, and doing that in a way that honors parents and families and helps us give feedback to our partners to say, hey, there's continual refinements that this system can far better serve kids. I just appreciate that. And it's hard to walk the talk. And I appreciate Tess going through a very exhaustive process of helping us sort that through individually and collectively. So thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other comments or questions before we move forward? Hearing and seeing none. We will be voting on the Lead Brick Church application. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution to deny the Lead Brick Church application? So what we're doing is voting yay to affirm the recommendation of our executive director, nay to deny the recommendation of our executive director. Is that clear for everybody? Commissioner Griscom.
It's Tom Griscom. Commissioner Richards, I will make the motion to adopt the recommendation of our executive director.
Is there a second?
This is Commissioner Patterson, second.
Thank you. All right. Hayden, will you please take a roll call vote?
Commissioner Carter,
I vote against.
Commissioner Griscom,
Aye.
Commissioner Levine,
Yes.
Commissioner Patterson,
Yes.
Commissioner Eddie Smith,
No.
Commissioner Lauren Smith,
Aye.
Commissioner Tudor,
Yes.
Commissioner Woodson,
Aye.
and Chair Richards.
Aye.
I'm sure you have 7 ayes, 2 noes.
Okay. Thank you all very much. This one is just really hard. I know everybody's spent a lot of time on this. I appreciate the work of the staff, particularly their additional work getting us the information on the standard with respect to the priority exit, and particularly the work around the performance of the nearby schools in the cluster, because I think that information was incredibly helpful. At this time, I will ask if there are any other final comments.
Yeah, Commissioner Richards, may I make one?
Yes.
I want to thank you and Commissioner Lauren Smith for carrying me over the finish line with the two of you all last week as we all got confirmed to return to the Charter Commission. So thanks to you and Lauren, I get to come back again. So I appreciate your help.
Well, I might dispute that we had any carrying to do. I think the carrying was being done by you, but anyway, we're glad that you're back and glad that Commissioner Lauren Smith is joining our team. So that's all very helpful, and we'll keep trying to do what's best for kids and families and education in Tennessee. That's what's important from this commission. Are there any other final comments? Okay, the next meeting of the commission is scheduled for March 22nd, 2024. I will entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting. Do I have such a motion?
It's Tom Griscom. I move it.
Okay, is
Jamie
there a
Woodson,
second?
second.
Okay, Hayden, will you take a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Carter,
I approve.
Commissioner Griscom,
Aye.
Commissioner Levine,
Yes.
Commissioner Patterson,
Yes.
Commissioner Eddie Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Lauren Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Tudor,
Yes.
Commissioner Woodson,
Aye.
Chair Richards.
Yes.
I'm sure you have 9 ayes.
Okay. Hayden, thank you so much for your help and assistance with this meeting, and to all of the staff, thank you for your help with arranging to make sure we were able to hear the public comments. I think they were very helpful for the team, and that's not easily done on a virtual meeting. Thank you all for your attendance and participation, and we are adjourned. Thank you.
Yep.